Hello, everybody. Welcome back. We're continuing on with the Canterbury scene. And we've done 4 bands so far. We've jumped into the 1963 David Allen Trio, into the later 60s Wildflowers, some of the output. We played a couple songs off of that. And then we did Soft Machine off the first album, and we just did Caravan off their first album. Did a couple songs from that, and then we're going to jump into next one, which is going to be the band Uriel. So anyway, if you haven't been here before, my name's Scott. I've been pretty much since I was a young toddler into playing music, studying. Started on piano, into guitar, and done audio, had audio degree, and built some instruments here and there in the past 10 years. And now I'm jumping into this space. So jumping into going back to the beginning, which is just listening and sharing and everything of that. Miss that stuff. Miss hearing music for the first time with friends in their bedrooms, and miss sharing stuff when you hear something and you can't wait to share something you just heard with your friends. It's just a really fun experience. So looking to, not really revisit that, but yeah, go into that. After all these years, there's still stuff to listen to. There's still new stuff. You guys have given me so many good recommendations, and I keep a list of everything everybody recommends to me, and I've even gone off and, listened to stuff, even though some of the stuff recommendations I want to do here, especially for new listens. I want to hear it for the first time with people, and hopefully somebody else is hearing it for the first time, and get to experience it together. But yeah, I have gone back and listened to some stuff. So yeah, and it's great. I love hearing new stuff, especially recommendation. And I love filling in all the blind spots that I have. I've got all these blind spots of stuff that I didn't hear, and then someone's just like, point me in the right direction. So it's great. And that's basically what I'm here for. It's two sides of the coin. For me to explore and me to share stuff that through that exploration with everybody else. And I'm interested in a lot of different genres. So pretty much there's nothing, everything under the sun, I'm open to listening to and exploring. So anyway, welcome. And as I said, yeah, we're going to continue on with the Canterbury scene, and that band is going to be Uriel. Sounds like whether you're British or American, it might come off a little bit different pronunciation. So yeah, we got some new members here, not in the original Wildflowers bunch, but so we have Dave Stewart on keyboards, Mont Campbell on bass and vocals, Clive Brooks on drums, and Steve Hillage on guitar and vocals. And this came out, they were together in 1967, but this album came out in 1969. And we're going to do, as I said, I just kind of do a needle drop on some of the material and then just kind of make an instinct choice on what we're going to listen to for the first one. And this one stood out. It is a little shorter. There's some stuff on here that's pretty long into like it's a mixture of stuff from anywhere from 2 minutes to 15, 17 minutes. So I may do those ones longer, but I'm kind of, picking ones that are a little bit more, but overall I just went on, whether I found something that immediately attracted to it. So this is going to be off their album, Arzachel. And this is called The Garden of Earthly Delights. Again, here we go.
Such grace that all is work and nowhere space. Is a sweet, delicious morn where day is breeding, never born. It is a meadow yet unshorn, which thousand flowers do adorn. It is the heaven's bright reflex, weak eyes to dazzle and to vex. It is the idea of her sex, whose envy does the world perplex. It is a sweet, delicious morn, where day is breeding, never born.
So yeah, so far, again, the one thread that we seem to have through this is the organ, the very big organ. It sounds like it's recorded in a big hall. 'Cause it's got a really expansive, a lot of reverb going on in there. So yeah, and the vocals, yeah, a little bit different than the Caravan. It's a little bit more different style. Not quite as soft and ethereal, but like I said, we didn't listen to everything, so it's. But yeah, so Dave Stewart keyboards, Mont Campbell, and we had 2 vocals on there. So last time we had Mont Campbell on vocals, and there's also another part with Steve Hillage. So I think they were trading off there. So I'm not sure which was which, but very similar tones. So they weren't really juxtaposed that drastically as far as their style and tone. Anyway, let's continue on this track, and I'll kick it back a little bit, 10 seconds or so, and get ready for Steve Hillage. I've heard quite a bit about and haven't delved in too much, so this is my first, other than Gong. I think I've heard him play with Gong on some of their on their albums. Here we go. Okay. A little bit of a jarring fade out ending there, but yeah, it's not like a good fade out. Yeah, I like it. Steve Hiller's got a great tone. Yeah, I like how he's sort of sustaining. He's not doing too much, theatrics and stuff on the guitar. He's playing pretty sparsely and tastefully. And yeah, it sounds like he's got everything together. He definitely fits in with that. Later on, it almost sounds like kind of a David Gilmour-ish, melodic sense and sort of sparse and just kind of hitting the right note at the right time. Nice vibrato. So yeah, that was a kind of short one. Obviously, yeah, they have some longer ones on there, and I guess this is, yeah, like I said, this is just touching base with it. So this is really first hearing a lot of these groups, and I'm kind of listening to them in chronological order. So from David Allen to Wildflowers, and then I heard Soft Machine, then I heard Caravan. Now I'm hearing Uriel, 1969. So yeah, it's really interesting to hear some of where they kind of have, at least in the periods, what their inspirations were and what their styles were. So still organ, yeah. The one thread I'm really hearing is this organ. This one, yeah, is huge sound. Yeah, there's so much reverb on there. But it really kind of created near the end with the drums and the organ and the guitar. Really, everything was kind of felt like it was under a layer of out in space. So there was a lot of everything was kind of, it wasn't the clarity. They were trying to, weren't trying to create this sort of more vacant wasteland of sound and space, more than just sort of clear lines and things like that. So yeah, I really like it. I feel like I'm gonna be in trouble because I'm gonna have so much listening to do, more to sort of hear more. But to get into a little bit of Uriel, yeah. So their history and their May 68 was their first gig supporting Captain Beefheart and his Magic Band. Dave's emulation of Keith Emerson on his Vox Continental. Dave Stewart arrived in London September 1962 in the City of London School and met Steve Hillage. Mont Campbell arrived in London 1961, met Dave and Steve at school after asking if they were a meeting group. Steve said they were the Cream Appreciation Society, and Mont asked if he could join. So yeah, I'd forgotten that. Yeah, so Cream was a thing already at the time, so apparently that was some inspiration for Steve Hillage. And then Keith Emerson for Dave Stewart on the keyboard was an inspiration. So Steve and Mont advertised for a drummer in the back of Melody Maker in early 1968. Cream and Hendrix, big inspirations. After massive response, Clive was chosen as the other bloke failed to show. Steve and Clive hit it off playing Cream's We're Going Wrong, and he also had a van. So Clive, first impression of Steve and Mont, they were posh, and Steve could play Hendrix, but then he left the band, and I was stuck with the other two. As for Dave, once Clive joined, I saw they had makings of a very good band, and I was desperate to join. Acting on Steve's order, I didn't play on every tune as he wanted a trio, aka Hendrix and Cream. So for organs, it didn't become a prominently organ band, more of a guitar band, as far as Steve Hillage's perception wanting to be. So, but Steve was our secret weapon. He had a great sound and technique for a 16-year-old. And Mont was the first to realize we couldn't stay a cover band forever. He pointed that out that all successful bands wrote their own songs. Steve wasn't convinced, and when he left, he uttered a warning that Mont's musical direction might prove to be a blind alley. But for me, Mont's compositions were crucially important and profound effect on my musical development. At the end of the summer of 1968, Steve left the group to study for his exams, making us an organ trio. Arzachel, recorded and mixed in 9 hours, went overboard with the reverb as it was a new, exciting studio effect. So yeah, I had wrote this stuff previously, but I forgot that. So as I was listening to it, I wasn't putting that together. But yeah, it looks like reverb as it was a new, exciting studio effect, and they really put it into effect here, for better or worse. Kevin Ayers was an English singer-songwriter who was active in the English psychedelic music movement. Originally, Dave Stewart and Mont Campbell and Steve were all in the same year, and Dave and Mont sat there during his final year at the City of London School. Hillage reunited with his former bandmates on a number of occasions. The most famous was, of course, the Arzachel album, which the foursome recorded under pseudonyms as Egg had just signed with Decca, but Hillage also sat in with Egg a few times during the residency at the Roebuck in London between May and July of 1969. So yeah, there were some issues with the name, and then Hillage, was kind of, went out pretty fast. So that's going to be a common thread with, I feel like, some of these bands. It's like their spans were, pretty much hit it and quit it, rehearse, get an album, and then changes. Either people left, they broke up, moved on to other things, or one guy left. And but yeah, that's, it wasn't a lot of longevity. And some bands, even in bands that they kept the band going, like Soft Machine, they changed a lot of members, through the years. So they would last a couple years, and then get a new person on this, a new person on that. And sometimes the musical direction would change, drastically. So, but it's cool just to hear, these sort of, flashes, of players playing together. You kind of get to hear, this sort of recipe for different players and different styles and different motivations and different players' personalities, and how they sort of, inflict motivations on the musical styles and arrangements and things like that. So that was Uriel. I don't know. I feel like I keep throwing out all different pronunciations, but I don't know. Feel free. I should have listened to somebody actually say the name, so I had it. But these are, a lot of afterthoughts and sort of putting these together. As much as I do to try to get the information, there's always little tidbits that I just don't come together in time, or don't have the foresight to think about. So again, appreciate it. We're gonna move on to the next group after Uriel, 1969, which is going to be someone who was with Wildflowers and Soft Machine and then went on his own. We're going to look at Kevin Ayers. And yeah, we're just doing this chronologically. Whoever came out with their debut first, we're going to jump into them and kind of leapfrog through this whole up to 1975. So again, yeah, I appreciate you guys coming along for this. It's really fun for me because a lot of this stuff, I didn't realize how much of this particular scene that I really hadn't listened to that much or discovered. So it's a little bit, it's not in my sort of sweet spot of music, but I really like listening to it and hearing it. And I definitely will go in further than I have right now. So on some of these bands. So Caravan, I'm sure I'm going to listen to that first album. Soft Machine, I'm sure I'm going to listen to that first album. And Uriel, I think I'm going to jump into some of the other stuff for sure on this first album. Pick a few out and see what happens. So appreciate you all being here. Love the responses lately, recommendations. I love, it's getting more and more, and this is perfect as it is right now. I have time where I can really communicate with everybody, and I don't know how long. Hopefully it stays this way for a while. It probably won't. I'm assuming it's going to get more and more people, and then it's going to be harder and harder to sort of stay in touch with everybody, but I'm going to do my best, and but we'll let the music do the talking for sure. So I appreciate it. The next one's coming. And then we also have polls up. I'm gonna intersperse some other music here in between these, this retrospective. So there'll be some album listens up for polls, some Gentle Giant, Real Scott Heron. I got Joni Mitchell and Jethro Tull polls up right now, so I'm gonna put them down for full album listens. And then we'll have some theme listens. A mixture of marathons of either different styles. Some Afrobeat or electronica, or krautrock, things like that. Do a mixture of tunes here and there. So try to take a little cross section of stuff. But anyway, I appreciate it so much. You guys, again, have a great day, and we will see you on the next one, and have a wonderful day. Bye-bye.